We speak very often on what is called the human intellect. And we have also spoken as many times on what the intelligence is in our human makeup. So there is the intelligence, and there is something different operating in us as human beings called the intellect. The word intelligence means the internal telling coming from the gens or the genes. In means internal, telli means communication, gens means the genes. So once again, the word intelligence is speaking to the internal communication coming from whatever God has deposited within our DNA, RNA construct. That represents your base intelligence. You didn't create it. The source creator created it for you, gave it to you as a free gift, and trusted you with the responsibility to maintain, uphold, and also allow to evolve that same base level intelligence. Intellect, however, is something that begins to develop after you are born out of the womb of your mama. Once you're born out of the womb of mommy and your five senses begin to awaken to this physical or material environment, the messages that are beginning to register on that newborn baby's mind is what is beginning to form that baby's intellect. And intellect means internal election. It's a verb as well as a noun. You have an intellect, but you have an intellect that is operating in you as an action word. Internal election, meaning internal choice making. That's what your intellect is doing. It is constantly about the business of choosing that which is better over that which is worse. That which is significant over that which is non or insignificant, not really important. So I'm going to pass that by because something in my base nature tells me that I've been created to select the best for myself and for others. Now, when the intellect begins to select other things other than what is best, other than what is useful, other than what is proper and decent, and all of those other great adjectives that we use. When the intellect begins to make those decisions, it has gone awry from its original composition and its original intent as the source creator intended for it to operate. So when we begin to make decisions that bring down the human life, when we begin to make decisions that embarrass ourselves and our household and embarrass the neighborhood that we're in, they hate to see you come home because they know it's going to be nothing but a bunch of shouting and cussing and fussing and maybe guns shooting and knives wailing, and they hate to see you come home because they know that there's something wrong in the base nature way that your intellect has been performing. Something ain't right. Something ain't natural. Well, instructor, who are you to decide what's natural in the intellect and what's not? I don't make those decisions. I let the source creator make those decisions, and I base it on the base nature that every infant is born with. I don't see them coming here trying to slice and dice anybody with their bottle nipple. I don't see them coming trying to slice and dice or shoot any other baby in the crib across from them in the daycare. I don't see it. So it must be something that happens after their five senses become awakened to the environment, and there must be something in the environment that is causing or encouraging that kind of wayward behavior and thinking. The intellect is simply a manifestation out of our original intelligence. That intelligence that this body is born with is what I'm speaking to. That is our original intelligence. You've heard Mr. Elijah Muhammad during his tenure as leader over the lost foundation of Islam in the wilderness of North America. You've heard him refer to so-called black people as the original people or as the original man. You think he was speaking to a race concept, when in fact he was speaking metaphysically and esoterically to the blackness that we are now referring to as the blackness of your original intelligence. Your original intelligence has a connection to the cosmos's universal intelligence. Science now calls that cosmic intelligence black matter space. You see the black man popping up at this juncture? That's what was meant by Mr. W.D. Farad as well as Mr. Elijah Muhammad, his student. That's what was meant in the phrase, the original black man. Man means mind. The original black mind is the mind that was born into this original black matter space, dark matter universe. From this point on, I want you all to refer to Instructor Benjamin Bilal as the Metaphysical Muslim. I don't want to be a regular Muslim anymore. I have found so many holes in the cheese of regular Muslims that it makes no sense to try to continue biting into it because I keep biting into holes and I'm not satisfied. Now, you can join me if you want to and call yourself a metaphysical Muslim. And you might say, well, where is that justified in the Quran? Well, it's justified in the Quran when you understand that most of the Quran, most of the Bible, most of the Torah is speaking esoterically to the human mind. Why would that be, instructor? It is that way because God, the source creator, has created the human being to be mostly abstract in our essence, to be mostly driven by metaphysical concepts. Concepts that go way beyond what we are looking at or engaging on the physical or material level. If I ask your son to shoulder his responsibility when he's working for me at the store, I ask him to shoulder that responsibility, stop being so lazy. Am I asking him to take something onto his physical shoulders as a responsibility? Or am I speaking to him or her metaphysically? See, I'm speaking metaphysically. If I ask you, say, well, listen, you have a few minutes on hand and, let's just sit down and play catch up. Let's sit down and just shoot the breeze. Are you going to go get your Uzi or your gat and come back and start shooting at the air? No, you're not going. You know better than that because you are already familiar with metaphysical concepts. If the police are running after a bank robber and the police say, freeze, does that mean the bank robbers are going to change their temperature all of a sudden to below, 32 Celsius? And start forming ice particles on their bodies? No, nobody's stupid enough to believe like that. But we're not used to thinking that we are communicating mostly through abstract words and concepts. That's the human life. You are an abstract being. You are what Imam Muhammad called an invisible you within the physical body. And that's the you that has been mostly neglected because of the schemes that have been played on that internal life. Schemes that have been orchestrated by Ash-Shaytan ar-Rajim himself and herself. So in the same way that our physical body holds intelligence, the universe itself possesses a cosmic form of DNA. Not a physical form like what we're used to seeing when we examine the human body or the animal body. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the method through which the source creator replicates his schemes or his plans for the universe and these planetary bodies, how they do what they do, how new stars appear and old stars disappear. That kind of replication is what I'm referring to as being handled by cosmic DNA. Our intellect is an aspect of our intelligence. Listen carefully. What we are now referring to as the human intellect, it did not come first. Your human intelligence came first. And your human intellect is an aspect or an outgrowth out of your in-telli-gence. Your intellect operates upon a straight line. The intellect is linear. It has a point A which leads directly to a point B conclusion. That's what your intellect has been designed to do. But the in-telli-gence is based on the DNA spiral. You ever see that picture of the DNA? Interchanging with each other, circling each other as it rises higher and higher. That intelligence, that DNA-based intelligence, it spirals. It's not linear. It's not A to B. It is spiraling from lower to higher, and it is circular as well as evolutionary. This is how your intelligence knows to grow your hair. It is your intelligence that knows to grow your teeth from baby teeth to adult teeth. You're not deciding that. Your intelligence knows how to grow your bones from the skeletal structure that you had while within the interior of your mother prior to you being physically born, all of the way through your baby years, your toddler years, your preteen years, your teenage years, and your adult years. That bigger and more dense set of skeletal bones has been growing in you since day one, and it is your intelligence that is responsible for such, not your intellect. You did not consciously will that growth for yourself. You don't consciously will that your eyes well up with water when you become overly emotional, angry, or even kind of silly. You know, you can laugh so hard until your eyes begin to tear. But it's not your conscious mind that's responsible for that. It is the intelligence that the source creator has created within us as invisible properties within us. That is absolutely responsible for that level of phenomenon. Your intelligence is what regulates your heartbeat and keeps it on time. It is also what is regulating the flow of your blood through the body, making sure that the proper amount of nutrition reaches each and every single part of the body. Not just the big organs are being fed by that blood, but the smaller corpuscles and even the tips of your fingers, your fingernails are being fed that same blood, being pumped from that same heart, circulating throughout that same body. Based on, I repeat, the performance clocked into its nature, into its fitra by our source creator within your in-telli-gence. So the intellect is only one dimension of your all-encompassing intelligence. Now listen to this next part. When Allah speaks about himself in the Quran as being El-Alim, or all-knowing, he is revealing that to let us know what we can achieve on the human level of human comprehension. We can be all-knowing on the human level. Stop and think about that. What in the world does that mean? It means that we can achieve as much knowledge as we sincerely seek after. The Bible says, ask and it shall be given. The Quran says that the human being gets whatever he or she strives for. It didn't say some of, it didn't say a quarter of or 3/4 of. It says that the human being gets whatever he or she puts an effort towards. That's power. That's qadr for real. See, your hair, your heart, your bones, your blood, etc., as we discussed, they already know what to do without any conscious instructions from your conscious or subconscious minds. Those properties are operating based on the unconscious mind that is directly connected to the unconscious universe. The universe is unconscious. People refer to consciousness, cosmic consciousness. The universe is not consciousness. The universe is awareness that's different. The universe, I repeat, and its DNA intelligence is awareness. But it is not consciousness because it is not about the business of making choices. The word conscious means with choice. Con means with and chis means choice or choosing. That means that you have to have the ability to think, properly speaking, in order to make a decision between what's good for you and what's bad for you. The universe is not making that kind of decision. Even in the Quran, in its esoteric expressions, it tells us that the universe agreed in the beginning of its chaos as a creation. It agreed to come to God willingly. That means that whatever God wants for it, that's what it's for. That's what it's supporting. It's not supporting its own ideas. It doesn't even want the capability of making its own choices. It wants its creator, its source creator, to make its decisions. The creatures that we're calling human are the ones who have been given that level of freedom to make their own independent choices based on what it believes is good for itself and others. That's consciousness. That's not awareness. Every infant is born with an awareness, but a potential consciousness. Consciousness does not grow in the human individual until that human has garnered enough information to be able to adequately make these kinds of distinctions and choices and what's good, what's not good, trial and error. I touched that, it's hot, that was too hot, too spicy, I don't like that. That's when the infant or the toddler begins to make conscious choices, and that is when human consciousness begins to grow within the vessel that we're calling the human being.